the cloud. Okay, welcome everyone to our info session about community history. Community history is an NJCH program that began in 2021 and has graduated 5 cohorts since then. Our most recent cohort wrapped up this September. I'll begin by first introducing myself. I'm Ali Marchesani. I'm a programs assistant at NJCH, and I'm also the coordinator of the community history program. And I'm here with Sylvester Cruz, who is NJCH's Grants and Partnerships Coordinator, as well as Gigi Naglak, who is the Director of Programs at NJCH, who also runs this program, as well as the Grants Program, and she oversees the Humanities Lab program as well. So we're in good company. And a little bit about NJCH. If you aren't too familiar with us, NJCH is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and a state partner for the National Endowment for the Humanities, whose mission is to explore, cultivate, and champion the public humanities to strengthen New Jersey's diverse community. And I've set out a series of questions that we'll answer in this info session. Of course, what is community history? Who is it for? A bit about the components of the program and a timeline, some examples of projects that have been done in this program in the past, and information about participants, important dates, and how to apply, which we hope you do. And I do want to say before I get into anything else that all of this information and the full program guidelines are available on the NJCH website for you to reference at any time. So that's a great resource that we have available 24/7. And if Gigi or Sylvester would like to put that in the chat, that would be helpful. So what is community history? The community history program is intended to provide its participants with the skills, funding, and cohort support, as well as mentorship from staff members and public history practitioners around the state and beyond, to help the participants develop a community-engaged public history project in collaboration with community members. And it's especially useful and eligible for organizations that have a great interest in learning about and sharing their community's untold stories, but don't have professional historians on staff to guide their process. So that's a really important eligibility requirement for this program, is that it's designed for people who don't have that training and experience already. And this program emphasizes the importance of gathering and sharing stories that have yet to be told, and also giving community members a voice in that process, which so often doesn't happen in public history. So that's what we're trying to do here. And we don't expect participants to come into the program with any prior knowledge or training in doing public history work or history-based work. And in fact, we are always extra happy to see applicants without that training and knowledge, because that's the entire point of the program, is to provide it. So it's about giving the space, time, and learning opportunities for organizations to develop their knowledge and history projects in a very low stakes, cohort-supported environment. So in line with that last point, we primarily expect and have received applications from organizations that don't have a history-based mission, such as libraries and organizations and arts organizations. But we also encourage applications from organizations who may be history-based but don't have professional historians on staff, such as small historical societies that run on volunteers, which we've had quite a few of those type of organizations join this program in the past. To be eligible, your organization must be a nonprofit or entity of state and local government. And individuals can't apply for the program. They have to be associated with an organization. And finally, if you are currently an NJCH grantee or participating in another program, you can't apply until your previous project is closed. But with all that said, if you're not sure if your organization is eligible, please just ask before throwing in the towel. We'd love to go over that a little bit more and don't want to discourage any applications for people who are eligible.
$5,000 thing.
Okay, so the main program components are learning, funding, and community, and I'll go into those a little bit more. So in terms of learning, we facilitate that through cohort sessions with guest speakers who are practitioners of public history, either in New Jersey, or we sometimes bring in practitioners from out of state, especially for our virtual sessions. And each organization will have one-on-one meetings with program staff for the purposes of resource sharing and mentorship on their projects. There will be workshops and assignments devoted to project development. And then the final product at the end of all of this is a new project plan and budget for your community history project. In terms of funding, so each accepted organization is awarded $1,000 at the start of the program to defray the costs associated with participating in the program, including travel to and from workshops. So there's a time commitment here, and there's travel and required to do that. And we want to make sure that people can make it. So we try to make that happen through this $1,000 participation stipend. And then there is the option to apply for additional funding of up to $5,000 to pilot the projects that you've created over the course of the program in the 12 months following the program. And you'll get this funding once your project plans and budgets are approved by program staff, as well as the whole cohort, who will be giving you feedback on these things. And you're only eligible to submit your project proposal for funding if your organization has participated in all program activities. So it's contingent on participation. But also, if you determine that you don't want to pilot your project for any reason, say you create a project plan and budget, and you decide or that your organization doesn't have the capacity to do it at that time, you don't have to go through with that. And that's totally fine. But the only caveat there is that you would have to join regular competitive grant cycles for future funding opportunities if you were to go that route and decide that you want to do it in the future. And in terms of community, you'll be participating with a cohort of participants just like you, but who carry diverse perspectives, because there's a lot of different types of organizations that join this program, from arts organizations, libraries, to small historical societies. So that's been very helpful to participants to have those different perspectives and feedback. And you'll also be introduced to guest speakers who are doing really interesting public history work in New Jersey and beyond. And then there's also the option to join regular meetups after the program for ongoing community support. In terms of timeline, there are three parts to this program, and the first is this learning intensive period that takes place from February to May 2025. This will kick off with 2 in-person workshops at a location central to the cohort, which usually ends up being in central New Jersey. These will be all-day workshops from morning through the afternoon, and participants will learn exactly, what exactly a community engaged public history project is, with some examples and models of how to do them. And these will be followed by virtual and in-person workshops on topics that will help participants develop their own community history projects. And the good thing is those sessions can be decided based on the cohort's interests. So say you want to learn more about how to do a podcast, we can always kind of adjust the course based on what your needs and interests are. And then the next part is project development from June to September 2025. This is when we'll take a pause from the learning sessions and encourage each organization to get out into their communities to develop a project plan. And during this time, there will be individual meetings with staff to help guide each organization in this process, to answer questions or point them towards specific resources or people that may be helpful for their project. And there'll also be these optional group meetings to see what other organizations are up to and to offer support to one another. And the full cohort will meet in September to present their final project plans and budgets for feedback and approval, as well as just to celebrate finishing the program. And then part 3, this is an optional part of the program, but many organizations do go on to pilot the projects that they've created, should they decide to do so, and they'll be awarded up to $5,000 to do this in the 12 months following approval from October 2025 to September 2026. And there will still be opportunities to meet up with one another, with the staff and with the cohort during this period. And it will conclude with each organization submitting their final reports and budget reports documenting what it is they did with their project and how they spent their funds. Okay, so at this point, you might be wondering what kind of projects have been developed through the community history program. So I figured that I would provide a couple of examples. So the FAF Coalition joined the 2022 cohort, and they decided to research the Carpenter Street School in Woodbury, New Jersey. It was built in 1840, and it's one of the state's oldest existing schoolhouses for African Americans. So their project team displayed their findings to the community at a community event. And at that same event, they solicited community members' insights on Black history in Woodbury. Another project is from Montclair Public Library. They recently graduated from the 2024 cohort of community history, and they just got started this past October. And their plan is to expand the library's local history collection to better reflect the ethnic diversity of Montclair. And they'll do that by hosting writing workshops in partnership with the Montclair Write Group. And individuals who join those workshops who have immigrated to the town will have the opportunity to contribute written personal stories of their experiences with immigrating to Montclair to the local history collection. And just so you're aware, again, you can read about and look at materials from all the past community history projects on the NJCH website at this link. In terms of participants, so you must commit to having at least one and preferably 2 to 3 project team members represented at all of the program sessions, activities, and meetings. And those people may include staff members, volunteers, board members. It's really up to you and can be anyone who is participating in your community history project and committed to it in some way. And I'll just say the reason we say preferably 2 to 3 team members is that so that your organization is getting the most out of these learning and project development sessions, and also because this makes cohort style learning much more beneficial and engaging to everyone involved. But it also just provides some insurance in case somebody gets sick or has a prior family or work commitment and can't make it to a workshop. And just to reiterate, eligibility to apply for that additional up to $5,000 in funding is contingent on participation in all these program activities. And the dates can be found in the full program guidelines on the NJCH website. We've set them in advance so that people can begin to kind of coordinate their schedules with some time ahead of beginning the program. Another quick point is that community history is not a grant program. even though there is funding involved. And I can kind of explain the difference a little bit. So when you apply for a grant, kind of have to know what you're doing. But for community history, you don't have to know exactly what you're doing. You can apply for this program without any project ideas in mind, because you'll be developing it over the course of the program. And grants are very much DIY, while community history is a learning program first, and that project development and awards second. So it's all about the process and developing a new project through a cohort-oriented process. So like I said, you might have some ideas at the start of the program, but we really ask organizations to hold them lightly. You know, you might find that the original idea you had isn't going to work out, or that you want to do something else, and that is totally fine, and we encourage that. Community history is a decent time commitment as well, so you know, when you're applying for a grant, you've kind of already done that development and research work, so it's much different than community history. But we do have grants, and if you think that that might be a better fit for you, we encourage you to apply for those and reach out to Sylvester to talk about that a little bit more. And we'll have another grant round in the upcoming spring of 2025 for those who didn't get to apply this time around. Okay, so some important dates to keep in mind. Most importantly, the application deadline is December 12th. And within the application, there will be a link to schedule an interview with program staff that must be completed by December 20th. I should say that these interviews are really just a chance to get to know you, your interest in the program, and for you to ask more questions of us, should you have them. So it's not a traditional interview in that sense. It's more of a get to know each other type thing. You'll be notified if you've been accepted into the program by January 22nd, and then we'll begin in February with 2 in-person workshops. So those are the important dates coming down the line. And again, the rest of the program dates can be found on the website through the guidelines. All right. So in terms of applying to do this, you'll want to read over the guidelines first and make sure that you're able to fully participate and that the schedule works for you. You'll find the apply link on that webpage, on the NJ Humanities Community History webpage at the bottom of the site that you can click on, and it's going to take you to a website called Foundant, which is just where NJCH hosts all of our applications. You can log in if you've applied for a grant or another program through NJCH before, but you will need to create a new account and register your organization if you're a new applicant to NJCH. And I think I have one last slide, which is who can help. So if you have any questions that maybe you don't get to ask today that come up down the line, and you'd like to talk about them, either me or Gigi can help you with that, and our contact information is here, but it's also on the website.